Tokyo. Today, it is a neon labyrinth, a concrete ocean of 41 million people. It is the largest continuous urban area in the history of our species. But if you strip away the skyscrapers, silence the trains, and turn back the clock just 400 years, you wouldn't find a city here at all. You would find mud. A swampy, feverish wetland at the edge of a bay, dotted with a few fishing shacks. This place was called Edo. Before we rebuild this lost world, I want to know where you are traveling from today. Drop a comment below with your city and country. It's amazing to see how global this community is becoming. And if you love history, make sure to subscribe. Now, let's travel back to 1603. The year is 1603. Japan has just emerged from centuries of bloody civil war. The victor is Tokugawa Ieyasu. He decides to move the capital away from the emperor in Kyoto to this swamp in the east. To do this, he orders the construction of the largest fortress the world had ever seen, Edo Castle. The central tower, the Tenshu, soared nearly 60 meters into the air, taller than any building in Europe at the time. It was a symbol of absolute power, watching over a city that was being built from scratch. But there was a problem. There wasn't enough solid ground for a capital city. So the shogun did something unprecedented. He literally moved a mountain. Engineers cut down the Kanda Hill and used the earth to fill in the Hibiscus Inlet of Tokyo Bay. They created a city of water. Edo was not built for cars, but for boats. A complex network of canals functioned as the arteries of the city, bringing in sake, cotton, and the most critical resource of all, rice. At the heart of this water network stood a single wooden bridge, Nihonbashi. This wasn't just a bridge, it was the literal center of the country. All distances in Japan were measured from this exact spot. It was the 0-mile marker. The bridge was a chaotic hive of activity. It was the starting point of the 5 great highways that connected Edo to the rest of Japan. If you stood here for an hour in 1650, you would see spies, monks, pilgrims, and princes all crossing paths. The entire social hierarchy of Japan condensed onto a few planks of wood. The population exploded, but not naturally. The shogun enforced a law called Sankin-kotai. It required feudal lords from all over Japan to live in Edo for alternate years. Suddenly, the city was flooded with elite samurai. They built massive, sprawling estates guarded by painted wooden gates. By the mid-1700s, Edo had hit a population of 1 million people. It was larger than London, larger than Paris. It was the biggest city on earth. While the samurai lived in luxury on the hills, the commoners, the chonin, lived in the low city. This was one of the most densely populated places in human history. Families lived in nagaya, long wooden row houses, where a family of 4 might share a room the size of 6 tatami mats. There was no plumbing. The street smelled of grilled eel, soy sauce, and the inevitable stench of a city without sewers. Yet it was remarkably clean. Waste was collected daily and sold as fertilizer to farmers. Nothing in Edo was wasted. With so many single men working construction in the city, Edo developed a unique culture of fast food. In fact, the world's most famous Japanese dish was invented right here on these muddy streets. This is the birth of sushi. Back then, it wasn't a luxury meal. It was sold from street stalls to hurried laborers. The pieces were massive, 3 times the size of modern sushi, and the fish was marinated in soy sauce to keep it from spoiling without refrigeration. Along with tempura and soba noodles, this was the fuel that built the megacity. To escape the strict rules of the shogun, the men of Edo went to the Yoshiwara, the pleasure district. This was the ukiyo, the floating world. It was a walled city within the city, a place of kabuki theater, tea houses, and geishas. Here, money mattered more than samurai rank. It was the birthplace of the pop culture Japan is famous for today. Woodblock prints, fashion trends, and celebrity culture all started here, under the glow of oil lanterns. But building a city of 1 million people, entirely out of wood and paper, had a deadly cost. Fires were so common they were poeticized as the flowers of Edo. In 1657, the Great Fire of Mereki burned for 3 days. It destroyed 60% of the city and killed over 100,000 people, more than the Great Fire of London and the Great Chicago Fire combined. Yet, each time Edo burned, the residents simply swept away the ash and rebuilt. The city was designed to be temporary. Only the spirit of the people was permanent. But keeping order in a city of 1 million strangers required an iron fist. The streets were patrolled by the Machi Bugyo, magistrates who served as judge, jury, and police chief. The samurai police didn't just use swords. They carried the jita, a metal truncheon designed to catch a sword blade, and long poles with spikes called sleeve entanglers to pin criminals to the ground without killing them. Crime was low, mostly because the punishments were severe. In Edo, the community was responsible for the individual. If one person broke the law, their entire neighborhood could be punished. For 250 years, Edo was a time capsule, locked away from the world. That bubble burst in 1853. 4 massive American steamships, led by Commodore Matthew Perry, appeared in Tokyo Bay. The Japanese called them the Black Ships. Panic swept through Edo. The shogun's swords were no match for modern cannons. The isolation was over. The shogunate collapsed, and the emperor was restored to power. In 1868, Edo was renamed Tokyo, the eastern capital. The canals were filled with concrete. The wooden daimyo mansions were torn down to make way for government ministries and train stations. The fishing village had become an empire. But if you look closely at modern Tokyo today, in the layout of the subway lines and the curves of the streets, you can still see the ghosts of old Edo beneath the concrete. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the lost world of Japan, click here to watch our reconstruction of London in 1872. You won't believe what the Thames looked like. Thanks for watching Vanished History.